We should be going. Hello, everybody out there in LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, wherever else you're tuning in from. I'm so excited to be back again today. I love doing these live events. And we're going to have an incredible and fast conversation today. We're going to get chock full of information, nuggets, deliverables, call them whatever you like in the next 30 minutes. I'm Dr. Laura Sicola with Vocal Impact Productions and host of the podcast, Speaking to Influence, Communication Secrets of the C-Suite. Today's conversation is going to do a deep dive into a specific case study in particular about how to launch. Whether you've got a new product, a new service, a new company that you want the world to know about, how do we do it? We know we need to get the word out, but it's a lot easier said than done, so to speak. So that's what we're going to look at today. And as we are preparing all of this, I'm going to invite all of you to participate fully in the conversation. Use that chat, drop comments, ask questions, and let us know, of course, who are you? Where are you from, both geographically and what's your industry or your company? What's your role? Give us a picture of who's here and most importantly, why. Right? Why are you here? What do you want to get out of this conversation? What would be the most valuable walk away possible 30 minutes from now? So with that, my guest today, allow me to introduce to everybody Erik Huberman, who is the founder and CEO of Hawke Media. And Erik first joined me on the Speaking to Influence podcast back in season 1, almost 2 years ago, which was amazing. Erik, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining me back in the beginning with Speaking to Influence. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. That's why we're back.
That is why we're back. Absolutely. Tons of information. Love deep diving into these conversations. So again, everybody out there, please let us know where you are, what you're doing, and what brought you here today. We want to really be able to leverage your situations, your context, your needs, your scenarios, so that we can make this the most directly concrete, applicable discussion possible for all of you. And it, of course, lets us know who's tuning in as well. Now, Erik, yep. You are the founder, you're the CEO of Hawke Media out in Los Angeles, crazy successful marketing agency based in Los Angeles. And of course, you're a new dad, which is so much fun. Congratulations.
Thank you. No, it's been a blast.
And so tell us real quick, how old is she now?
6 weeks tomorrow.
6 weeks. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What a fun situation to be in. Just so much cuddles. I miss that stage. But now we're back in slowly but surely getting back into the quote unquote real world of balancing business and family and all that kind of stuff. If there is any such thing as balance, I'm pretty sure it's a myth. But the integration or coexistence or however you want to put it. Now, aside from that, in the business, you literally wrote the book on marketing. It's called The Hawke Method, is your bestseller. Yes?
Yep. Sitting right here.
We're sitting right there. Look at that. Okay. And of course, that's available on Amazon, I'm assuming?
Yep.
Perfect. And is it in paperback or Audible or?
Audible, Kindle, paperback. Yeah.
All the above. Okay. So when you're looking for the hardcore content, a little more of a step-by-step how to, definitely pick yourself up a copy of the Hawke Method. And today we're going to focus on the case study of the launch of your super new product, Hawke AI. Yes?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. So tell us a little bit, first, quick background. What specifically is, aside from just marketing in general, what is Hawke Media?
Yeah, so Hawke Media, we tout ourselves as an outsourced CMO and marketing team to companies. So we basically go into different organizations, all types of brands and companies. We do an audit on their marketing and then can spin up different experts month to month and a la carte that can plug in and actually solve the different problems the company's having. So it could be a Facebook person, an email marketer, a web designer, et cetera. We've been around about 8.5 years. We've grown over 4,000 brands at this point. We have about 250 full-time people. And so that's the core business, is basically the idea of creating accessibility to great marketing, meaning be the best at what we do, but really easy to work with.
That's awesome. And so we've got the book, of course, that helps people with a little bit more of a DIY
Yep.
approach to marketing. But and that launched back in March, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is great. So not even
Yeah.
6 months out, already bestseller. And now tell us about Hawke AI. What is that? And let's start with that.
Yeah, sure. So to take a step back, the book, because it does lead into that, was basically our marketing principles over the past 8 years, and distilling it down into 3 pillars of marketing: awareness, nurturing, and trust. And basically, how do you create a campaign? How do you create a robust marketing strategy? And what are sort of what's a checklist and kind of an overview that you can use to manage that? Really built the method, the book, and Hawk AI to start with for CEOs and owners of companies to get a quick digest of like what's going on, what are we doing, what should we be doing. And that's really where the book came in, and then Hawk AI came in, because what Hawk AI is sort of the manifestation of that in a tech platform where it plugs into all your different disparate marketing channels, pulls them in, and tells you how things are performing week over week, month over month, year over year, so you can see how trends are going with your own marketing. But one of the biggest things that anyone that's built a business knows is it's like, it's great to know how things are performing, but if you don't have industry data, if you don't know what's going on in the market, like you could see that your Facebook ads might be down 10% right now. Was that because you did something wrong? Or is that because Facebook's down 10% or the market's down
Right.
10%? Like, you don't know unless you have that data. So we created that data. We have over 10,000 companies' marketing data running through this in real time. So you can actually
Wow.
benchmark yourself against your industry. So it's not only reporting to you how you're doing, but then it actually tells you how you're doing compared to your industry, and then provides insights as to why that might be happening, what things you can do to fix that. And again, we launched this 2 weeks ago, but it's getting more and more robust every day. We're launching TikTok next week. We're launching
Nice.
Pinterest the week after. We're getting Klaviyo integrated and PostScript, but it's already got Shopify, Google Analytics, Google AdWords, as well as Facebook running through it. And we've already got, as I mentioned, about 10,000 companies marketing running through it, and about 2,000 paying customers on it
That's
that are
amazing.
using it.
10,000, a database of 10,000 companies to see where marketing trends are going and what's leading. That's, I think that definitely falls into the
Well,
category of statistically significant
I was
data.
going to say, to make sure that it was statistically significant, we actually benchmarked it against public markets for Facebook publicly traded data, and Google and Shopify and all these big companies that are actually showing their data. And it turns out, yes, there's about 98% correlation plus 98% plus between all of those and our own data. So we are statistically significant at this point.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing and so useful for all of us who need to figure out how to who we're up against and how to get through to the people that we want to connect with most and the people who we truly want to serve.
Yep.
So with that, then you're all right. Let's take us back a little bit now. Let's launch here into the case study. And by the way, I want to just draw everybody else's attention to something that he kind of blew past real quick, but I'm going to encourage everybody to write these 3 points down now and use them as sort of a I'll say a benchmark or a guidelines for how to listen through the rest of this conversation. Because as Erik mentioned, the 3 pillars of marketing are awareness, nurturing, and building trust.
Yep.
I'll say that again: awareness, nurturing, and building trust. So what we'll do here is using his new platform, the Hawk.ai, to think about, okay, what were the various stages that he went through in building awareness, how he built the nurturing, how he built the trust, and not just what stages like, well, we needed 8 weeks worth of X, so much as what was the thought process behind it? How did we think through who needs to hear what? How do we frame this? What kind of language did we decide was going to be more effective or less effective, and why? We want to get really down into the nitty-gritty granular to start thinking about, okay, how do I connect not just what's the mechanism, but any marketer will tell you that it's all about tweaking and honing words. Your A/B testing. Does this phrase work better than that phrase? And what are the lessons that we
Yep.
learned along the way? And how can the rest of us learn those same lessons? Since the answer may not be the same for each of our issues, product, services, companies, or otherwise, but the questions we have to start to ask ourselves and the thought process in it, if you can let us into that Pandora's box or so in the brain, that would be absolutely amazing. And again, everybody else out there, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you'd like to get out of this. And if you've got a question for me or for Erik, by all means, please put that in the chat so that we can answer it for you. All
Happy
right,
to be
Erik,
put
where
on
do
the
you want to
spot.
start?
Yeah. Yeah, I would go. I think it's a great place to start is, how we initially launched this using the Hawk method. But that I would also say that the idea behind all of this is it's an ongoing process. As long as your business is running, you're still using it. So I think people are stuck. A lot of marketers think that we're still stuck in like this campaign methodology where it's just like you launch a campaign, you run it, you end it. And to me, marketing never ends. Like you launch campaigns, don't get me wrong. There's usually, it kind of helps with a little bit of hype, it boosts things,
Sure.
but you're constantly looking at how am I creating awareness, how am I nurturing that awareness, and how am I creating trust. So to like give like 2 minutes on that,
Please.
awareness is how do I let people know that we even exist? And it's that in a nutshell. So it's advertising, it's PR, it's word of mouth, it's all these things that let a new potential customer know that your product or service even exists. And so the ways to think about awareness is where should I create an awareness that it creates efficiency? What channels should I use? And with that awareness, what is the messaging so that they actually get intrigued? So then I can get the opportunity to nurture them. Because what we find is, and nurturing is the part that most people miss. Awareness is what everyone thinks of as marketing, but nurturing is what you do after they're aware you exist to actually get them to buy. And we see this like e-commerce because the data is easy to grab. The average purchase cycle of an e-commerce purchaser is somewhere between 3 weeks and 3 months. Wow. And it probably averages out around 4 weeks. So it's a little front loaded depending on your average order value. And we have deeper stats on that I could give, but want to rush through it a little bit. But so again, if the idea is it's about a month before someone buys, I send you an ad and then I just don't say anything for a month and hope you buy. Yeah, it's going to have a bad conversion rate. So things like email marketing, SMS, trying to capture someone's data, because they're a lot more likely to just give you an email address or a phone number than they are to buy right away. Sure. So now you can stay in touch. Creating content, so they want to re-engage with you above and beyond a purchase decision and actually engage with your brand so they keep thinking about you. All these things that help you further guarantee a purchase and so increase your conversion rate, as well as accelerate that time period, which is super helpful for our business too.
I'm curious, I mean, it used to be 7 touches in sales was sort of the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
What is it now in the digital age with all the noise that everybody is perpetually bombarded with? How many touches is it usually taking?
The last stat I saw from a study was like 22, but I gotta imagine it's more than that now. Like, because we're just all bombarded, as you said. Like, it's like we see things all the time. So like you just like I've seen it, anecdotally, where it's like we're constantly reinforcing things that we all of a sudden see someone buy something 5-6 years later after they've seen it 300 times. It's like, it's just there you can put all those rules on it, but generally, like, it's good to play with averages. And also every product's different. And that's where frankly trust comes in, because the difference between like selling a book as an example, like sure. No one's really going to get hurt buying a book. They just have to know that like it's probably going to be worth it for mine's $16.95. Like, how much do I have to get over the hurdle to get someone to spend $17 on a book? Right. Well, one testimonial review could do it. Word of mouth from a friend, being on a LinkedIn Live, like that could probably sell a book. It doesn't take that much. But trust in general, 75% of people won't buy a product or service from a company they don't inherently trust. Right. And again, that level changes, but the ways to build that trust early on are third-party validation generally. So it's influencers, it's things like this, being on a podcast, it's press, it's testimonials, reviews. It's all the different ways you can get that third-party validation. And one key point here is that validation doesn't necessarily have to be trusted. It helps if it is. But what's crazy is, have you ever watched How I Met Your Mother?
I've seen it a few times. It's been a while.
So it's my favorite example, even though it probably wouldn't do so well in today's culture. But basically, the main star is trying to meet his wife. And he's got a friend that's a total womanizer. And they go to bars together. And his friends move with, it's Barney and Ted. Barney loves to go up to random girls and go, "Hey, have you met my friend Ted?" And it works every time. They're like, "No, but okay." And they don't know who Barney is, but they just got introduced. So that psychology actually does work that way. If someone random introduces you to something, even though you don't know who that random person is, you still will trust it more. And so again, if I've never heard of a publication, but they're giving a huge review on this product, if I like the review, I still might go buy the product. And so the idea of third-party validation, with or with not a celebrity or a big trusted source, again, we all know how many fake reviews out there, yet we all still look at how many stars a product has.
Right.
It's human nature. Right. And so that's a part of it. And then over time, your trust becomes your brand. What you consistently deliver on, what you consistently are known for, what you build a reputation around, that's your brand, good and bad. So if you deliver unhealthy food that causes obesity, but you do it really fast and consistently, you're McDonald's. Not saying that it's not good or bad. Like, people like the taste, people like the speed, but most people also know it's not good for you, but that is their brand. Zappos, their brand is customer service. Like, and part of that, Zappos is a great example. It's also what you speak to. Zappos constantly talks about their customer service, and they do a great job delivering. But I bet there's other great customer service companies out there. But since they don't talk about it as much, people don't think about it as much. And you end up with confirmation bias by talking about it, where now people want to see Zappos have good customer service. And so if they have a bad experience, they might even let it go a little bit because they assume it should be good.
Hmm.
Versus the opposite, where you like the cable companies like Comcast and Cox, where everybody knows it's horrible customer service. Even if they do something good, you might be like, yeah, it must have been a fluke. Like these guys suck. Like that's how people work. So helping push that confirmation bias also is a pretty powerful tool. You have to be delicate with, but these are all ways. So speaking fast, but getting into Hawke AI, how we thought about the launch is how
And
do we
just
start
as
it?
a little disclaimer there, I've had
Yep.
great experience with Comcast and with a whole bunch of other programs out there. So just a little disclaimer there. We're not promoting or
Yeah. No,
disclaiming whatever one way or another.
yeah.
But it is so yeah, let's get into for the Hawk AI now. If we back that into everything that you've just shared as far as the awareness part and in the nurturing piece, knowing that this is not a consumer product. This is not, of course, a B2B versus B2C. There's a big difference between selling a book and selling a massive marketing virtual platform.
Yeah.
So how do you nurture that? What are some of the approaches that you took, and how did you decide how to frame it, how to approach, et cetera?
Yep. So the irony is there's not that much different. And there's not much different
Okay.
between B2B, B2C book. Like, don't get me wrong, the individual tactics messaging that you use is different. The returns are different. So the amount you can spend on selling a book versus a software platform, et cetera. Like our software platform starts at $100 a month. So like different price point, can spend more to get a customer, et cetera. Different
Mhm.
target. My book, anyone can read it. Our platform, businesses. So, but the tactics you use, the method, still pretty similar. So yeah, I want to touch on messaging because I think it's important. I found the best way to figure out your initial messaging is to just go out and talk about it. And hard for a lot of introverts out there, but go pitch your product to tons of people that would be interested. So we soft launched this in early August. We hard launched it in mid September. This right as I soft launched it, I just started calling all friends in the industry and telling them about it. And the original sort of slogan tagline we were using was AI enabled CMO. And it was like I had this image of like a person with a robot suit behind them to make them more powerful, like something out of anime. That was like that's how I picture this. My nerd side of me was coming out. And I'm like, this is going to be like you're a CMO, but you have this whole robot behind you making you more powerful. And I thought that was great until I said it to a bunch of friends that were like, so what's it do? I was like, okay, don't say that. Okay, great. And that's where like now I just said the pitch, but I started honing in more on automated marketing strategy. And that I watched their eyes light up. I watched their, you
Mm.
could tell like their body language was like, oh, now I'm intrigued. AI enabled CMO, not intrigued, confused. Automated marketing strategy. Okay, what's that mean? Well, we basically plug into your marketing channels and monitor them in real time, like I said. And then we benchmark you against your industry so we can tell you not just how you're doing, but how you're doing compared to the industry. So you know where you should actually be spending your time, saving you a bunch of time on strategy, diving into the numbers, et cetera, and helping you focus on exactly what you should be focusing on. And then we provide insights on what we think could be the fixes for those things that you're challenged by. Everybody wanted it.
Sure.
Immediately, it was like, oh, got it. Yeah, I want that. So great. Then I went back to the team and said, here's the messaging. And now we've been testing that. Now we A/B test like the top of the funnel side, where it's like which ads should we use, what's actually getting people through the funnel, et cetera. But we had
How
a
did you play
baseline to
with
start
those how did you come up with some of those phrases,
with.
language, and for that funneling piece? Did you find
Uh,
that there were
we
different
started with that
platforms?
baseline of like these are the things that seem to resonate. Now let's play with is it benchmarking or is there another synonym for it? Do we say, do we focus on benchmarking or do we focus on insights? Do we focus on monitoring? Like which one of these is standing out the most? Frankly, what we found is benchmarking is really the key word to almost every savvy marketer right now. We have some Fortune 500 companies coming in immediately because like, yeah, we've always wanted this. Like the forest from the trees problem. It's a legacy problem that a lot of agencies can help with because they see what's happening across the industry. But the amount of market research and reports people are reading and paying for, it's like, nope, here's the data. Like, here's the actual data, not a report, not some consultant. Like, you now have the data in your industry across tons of companies to know what's going on. And so that's been the pitch, and that's where everybody's buying in on. So narrow it, narrow it, narrow it, even though it has a lot more. So it's getting to write what people are attracted to. And then leveraging the method for awareness, running ads, getting a bunch of press. And one of the biggest things that like this isn't going to be that helpful for anyone launching from scratch, but we also actually I would say it would be partnerships. Who else is targeting your potential customer that has huge database that has something to benefit that you can cross promote? In our case, we have a marketing agency with 1.3 million contacts. So we're going to now leverage our marketing agency to partner the software company. But the marketing agency, frankly, has grown massively off partnerships with a bunch of software companies that also look for our customers. We're a huge partner to Shopify. We just got nominated one of the top partners to Google. We're a huge partner to Facebook. We're We are an investor in Klaviyo and Postscript. We also have a venture fund in some of the biggest tools in our industry. And so we send business back and forth. So that's a great way too to create awareness that's super direct and very inexpensive. It's just building relationships. So
Yeah,
now
and to that point, I think the for anybody out there who is, there's a difference between sort of affiliate marketing, which
yeah,
is also, certainly a tool in that general bucket. We'll say I'll mix my random metaphors here, but I think having that person or organization that you already have a relationship with, that already trusts you, the power of third party edification. I cannot stress enough how important that is to have someone else outwardly say, I think you're fabulous. I
yeah,
think these guys are amazing. They have served us so well. The quality of the product, the quality of the service, how much ROI we've gotten, what the experience was like, all of that stuff to have. It's so much harder where I think a lot of people really struggle in sales of sorts, especially for small business owners where you are the brand. If you're a coach or you're in insurance or you're in whatever else it happens to be, there's a fear of sounding salesy to say, well, I'm really good at this. I'm great. You should, oh, get somebody else to say that. When you get someone else who you're not just saying like, here's your script. Could you do me a favor and read this to the camera? Like that's not it. But
yep,
even, when you and I started here just 20 minutes ago or so, the whole point is I do think you're fabulous. I do think that we had a great interview. I did think it was a lot of fun. I did think that we added super value to it. I'm going to encourage everybody else, and we'll put in a link in the chat to our original podcast interview. So anybody who missed it the first time around has a chance to go back and listen again. And for that matter, if you heard it the first time around and you realize, I think I need to go back and double check that one more time, you have the opportunity to get that easily. So we'll put that in the chat in a minute. But that's power. You want someone else to be able to vouch for you. You mentioned those 5-star ratings from a million strangers on
right.
Amazon, but this is when it's this kind of personal piece, you can't get better. So you
Yep.
want to really leverage your contacts, leverage your relationships, and find a way to cross promote, to cross elevate, to cross edify. It's the word edify, I think, that makes the most value. How did you do that with some of your relationships? How do you get them to cross uh
Yeah,
promote that way?
you make it really easy, I think is the part that people miss. People like to make introductions. Like people like to be valuable and to be valuable to their network. And so if like first off is being trustworthy, like are you actually going to
Yeah.
deliver for the people I'm introducing you, et cetera. Get over that hump. That's like what we talk about with like having a good product or service is kind of
Yep.
table stakes for a company. If you don't, you're screwed. If you do, you should be all right. And then from there, it's I what I learned about partner marketing and that part of it is make it really easy. So like I see tons of people try to like set up like, here's our deck, here's everything, like, here's how you sell us, here's all your messaging. No one's going to remember that. No one's going to introduce you to anyone. Anyone that I talked to that I wanted an intro from for our agency or starting out was anyone you run into that needs marketing help, just send them. Don't try to filter. Don't try to do anything. Just if they need marketing help, introduce me. That's it. And that was the best way to do it. Cause like, yeah, everyone needs marketing help. So these people would be, oh, you need marketing help, talk to Erik. And every time marketing came up, this is Erik, this is Erik. So in their head, marketing, Erik, that's it. Like keep it super simple and then stay top of mind, check in with them, stay in front of them. Like, I constantly I post on social every day so that my whole network sees something. Obviously, thanks to algorithms, not necessarily the whole network sees it, but I also check in with my entire network every quarter. Send an email to check in, how you doing, that kind of thing. Every single quarter, it's about 15,000 people right now in my email database that I still check in with on a quarterly basis.
Yes.
So staying in touch is super important on top of making it really easy for them.
I think with the really easy part, two elements that came to mind as you were talking. So yours is super simple in that you can say anybody who needs marketing help.
Yep.
That's a super broad avatar, and somebody
Yep.
else may have one that's a little bit narrower, depending on what it is that you're trying to whether product, service,
You
or
got to keep it
otherwise.
to 5 to 7 words, not like, oh, well, if they need this and this and this, it's like, they're not going to figure that out for you. So like, don't make your partners your filter.
Right.
Again, awareness. You want wide. Let
Right.
them tell. So whatever you fall into in a broad category, that's what you want them to talk about. And then
And we
from there, you can filter once they send them to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you can give them the phrase to listen to,
Yep.
or to listen for, I should say, or give them
Yep.
a single phrase to use where that's what I like to call tweetable and repeatable. If
Yep.
it's a
Exactly.
super simple phrase that they can understand, remember, and repeat without having to think about it,
Yep.
that's super important. I'll tell
Yeah.
people a lot that if they are finding, listen for somebody who's frustrated because they feel like their voice isn't heard.
Yep. And
That
ours
they're
is your
not
outsource.
getting through. That's what, okay, send them to me and we'll
Yeah.
talk. That's, so what is your phrase? How do you take that big, well, it could be, nope, get it down to that. If you can do 5 to 7 words, great. But it's tweetable and repeatable.
Yep.
What's your
So for
soundbite?
Hawke Media, when we own the trademark, your outsourced CMO. That's it. And then for Hawk AI, right now it's still so new. I might end up changing it, but I think automated marketing strategy. And
Yeah,
that's, yeah, super simple. And obviously, you now know where I got an AI enabled CMO. I was like, oh, it's perfect. And then obviously, like your outsourced CMO has it has every connotation I want it to have. It's like high level marketing, strategic, senior, everything, but it connotes marketing. Like that's why it's worked so well. And the part that we've had to clarify is we also have the full marketing team, but it's okay. Like for top of the funnel, before we can explain that, I've seen tons of people say it where it's like, oh, you need marketing help. Yeah, you got to talk to Hawke Media. They're like this outsourced CMO or this fractional CMO, or they mince up the word, but it's close enough that like I know that outsourced CMO verbiage has helped them talk about it. And that's with all word of mouth. It's not just partnerships. All word of mouth. You got to give them that little quick phrase so they feel comfortable saying it with confidence. Because if you make it more complicated than a few words, they're just going to forget, which means they're just not going to bring it up.
yes, yes. Keep it nice and simple. Follow that KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, sweetheart, or
Yeah.
whatever final S you like to use. Okay, let's move on real quick. We got a couple more minutes. Go on to trust. Round
Yeah.
three.
Oh, nurturing. So nurturing, we set up all sorts of drip campaigns. So we allow people to do a 2-week free trial. They can sign up ahead of time with no credit card and then put in their credit card. And we have all sorts of automated emails going to remind them to keep going, et cetera. We check in with them. We make sure they're getting onboarded. We do things to make sure that we make it really easy to come in, and then we make sure to follow up and keep in touch and build those drips. We also are leveraging, again, our Hawke Media database, where we're setting up drip campaigns and follow-ups and nurturing around there. We're building content. We're going to be doing a monthly report starting next month, where we're taking basically quarterly, or it's going to be a monthly report on how numbers are performing month over month across the market. So we already have tons of hedge funds and private equity funds licensing this data because it's again correlated with public markets. But what we're seeing is we have the data in real time, so months faster than you can get it from like a public report from Facebook. So we know what happened. FedEx just came out that in February and March they had terrible months. It's like, well, yeah, we knew that in February and March. Now everyone else knew it in September. So we're going to start putting out reports. It's like, here's what's happening right now, especially with the uncertainty of the market. We know that's going to be helpful. That will also get people continuing to see all these data and go, I want this. And then they can plug right in. So these are all things we're doing to nurture and remind people we exist while they're thinking about buying. The trust part, we did a massive PR launch. And so we had an entrepreneur article, Forbes, Business Insider, like all that. All these people writing about us helps with trust. We also thankfully have trust. Hawke Media has a brand that creates a lot of trust in the market as well. We also have a bunch of case studies already because we soft launched a while ago, and we've already started putting out examples and case studies that show here is how it's actually working, and here's the correlation. We have testimonials, all that. So these are all the things I mentioned we have and had ready for that launch so that the conversion can happen.
What were some of the questions that you asked yourself prior to deciding what steps you were going to take in these areas to nurture and to build trust? What are some of the driving questions?
Yeah, it was just basically from my 15 years in experience and all this stuff, what do I think's missing? Like, because we bought a software company that already had built a platform, and it's like, but they hadn't really gone to market. So it's like, okay, so what do we need? Like, how are we going to get it out there? I mean, literally, what I asked myself: how are we going to build awareness? How are we going to nurture that awareness? How are we going to build trust? Like, and what do we have that's covered? What assets do we have that can help with that? Where are we really starting from scratch? And also, I think this is really important. Is like, even though we did a hard push launch 2 weeks ago and did a bunch of press, it's an iterative process. So over time, it's always being tweaked. So don't bank on like a 1-day huge launch. I'd much rather launch something where it's like, start today and we're going to iterate every week, or keep iterating until things start really humming. And thankfully we're out the gate. It's a great start, but like, I mean, we want this to be a massive business. So like we're going to keep adding and building and figuring out where the low hanging fruit. And that's again, where that method comes in. Is now we're going to look at is if conversion's really good, let's spike awareness. If conversion's bad, let's go work on nurturing or trust. Like that's really like the main indicator. And so it's like, let's go figure out where we're going to pull levers to continue to make this better and better.
Erik, this has been a whirlwind for the 29 minutes. It has flown by. I want to thank you so much for joining me and for sharing your wisdom. How can people learn more about you, about Hawke Media, about Hawke AI, and anything else for that matter?
Yeah, so for me, I'm on every social @Erik Huberman, so easy to find. Feel free to reach out. Hawke Media, we'll do a free marketing audit for anyone. So you can just go to hawkemedia.com. Hawke AI, as I mentioned, 2-week free trial. So you can just go to Hawke AI, Hawke.ai, and then Hawke Methods on pretty much everywhere books are sold.
And anybody who's listening, Hawke has an E on the end of it,
Yep.
HAWKE. So don't leave that off, or God knows where the world of the internet will send you. So
Good for you. You do own Hawke Media without the E too.
good, very smart. See, I should have guessed that, but nevertheless, you should know that if you go to Hawke with an E, you're not in the wrong place for that matter. So once again, Erik, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And everybody else, reach out to us, please, on LinkedIn. There are some links in the channels as well. In the chat for our original podcast episode, of course, if you missed that. And reach out to us on LinkedIn. If you do, please, to connect with us, tell us that you were here, that you were part of this conversation. We want to know where you came from. And I don't know about you, but part of that know, like, trust, and all that fun stuff is knowing who you are and why you want to connect. I don't know about you, but I don't tend to connect with people who send connection requests without telling me why, if I don't not already have a relationship with them. Are you similar in that front?
Very similar. I actually, apparently LinkedIn has 30,000 capped connections, and I hit that, had to delete a bunch of people, and so now I'm super picky with who I add.
Exactly. Got to be super picky. I'm not at 30 yet, but it's not a popularity contest. He who dies with the most LinkedIn contacts does not win. So it's about value, not quality, not quantity. So with that, everybody, hope this was fabulously useful for you as it was for me. I learned a ton, and we look forward to seeing you next time on LinkedIn Live. Take care, everybody.